Okay, as you can see, the title of the panel is explaining what it will be about, which means that none of us could prepare themselves in conversation for Yossi, and none of us has no idea what we are going to say in the next half an hour. But some of the rules are that whatever I ask, you don't have to answer. And the people in the audience are not interested in facts nor in insight. They want good stories. So this is what you have to provide. I feel very pathetic that my pathetic jokes are going over the heads of the people. Guys, you are not going to laugh. We are going to evacuate the stage. Let me introduce the panel. Jackie Abitbul, Vice President of Orange, in charge of
corporate development.
Corporate development. You have to talk louder.
Okay, corporate development for...
No, more energy. Say it enthusiastically. You should be enthusiastic about your job.
Should I start up? Okay, corporate development at Orange, and in charge of the accelerator program in Israel, and also a venture partner for Orange Publicist Fund in Israel.
Good. Marc Mathieu, Global Senior Vice President Marketing, Unilever.
Correct. Unilever.
What are you doing in Unilever?
So Unilever, ice cream. You'll get some Magnum ice cream this afternoon.
That's good. Now we talk.
Tea, I'm not sure what you're drinking, but Lipton tea. Deodorants, all kind of personal care, detergents, all kind of home care products, so quite a big breadth of portfolio.
Good. Anybody in the audience ever bought a Unilever product? Raise your hand. About 20% market share. You can do better. You are in charge of marketing. We'll have to explain to you some things. Brent Oberman, Chairman, Made.com, and the head of FF.com, right?
.co.
.co.
Yeah.
Brent, what are you doing?
So what am I doing? Well, I used to help you all enjoy your leisure time more with lastminute.com, and now your homes with Made.com. So if you want beautiful designer furniture without the high street markup, then you go to Made.com. And otherwise, I'm on a ton of boards that I won't bore you with now, probably too many, and also Angel Invest and Venture Capital, and Founders Forum, where we also work for big corporates, one of whom is sitting on my right, and we help them work with startups. So we work with companies like Unilever and Diageo and Tesco and Sky and News Corporation and people like that, and help them interact with the startup community. So that's another business subsidiary under Founders Forum. And also, if your home isn't good enough and you want a new job, we also do Founders Keepers and help you get a new job.
Thank you, Brent. And last but not least, JP Rangaswamy. This time I said it right, more or less.
Almost.
How you say it?
Rangaswamy.
Rangaswamy. Good.
Haji.
Chief Scientist of Salesforce.com.
Correct?
For the time being.
Correct.
Good. JP, what are you doing?
You're going to fire him on stage now?
Sorry?
No, we are not going to fire him.
I spend time thinking about the future, figuring out...
No, you already answered the question I didn't ask you. Tell us what you are doing.
What am I? I'm busy preparing to become a grandfather.
That's very good. What kind of preparations you are doing?
I think the usual preparations for people of my age now: make space in your home for your daughter to return. So she and her husband are now staying with us, having left us quite a few years ago.
Did your daughter
providing the checkbook for nesting?
That's very important, you know.
Yeah.
And did you got your grandson offline or online?
Currently, most of the work was done offline.
Okay, good.
But only currently.
And how many books you have now at your home?
43,000.
43,000. When we met, it was 30,000.
Well, age.
It's age. There are multiple.
If you leave a bunch of books together, you'd be surprised what happens.
Good. And do you have enough shelves for all the books, or they are in piles?
I used to have a dining room. I used to have a swimming pool. the things that you lose with age as books take over when you give them time.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody visited Mark Twain and saw that he has the books in piles, not in shelves. And somebody asked him, why don't you have shelves? What was his answers?
I don't know.
His answer was, nobody is willing to lend me shelves. Book, yes, but... Okay, very good. I am, and the audience is very interested to know what you think are the main themes that we are going to face in the next 5 years. And by the way, this is an interactive session. You are allowed to keep your phone ringing, and you can either cheer or boo every statement that you like or dislike. For instance, this statement. Stronger? Boo, good. Okay. Jackie, what we are going to see in the next 5 years?
Actually, if I knew the future, so it would be easier for me, but in Orange...
I know that forecasting the past is much easier, yes.
Yes. But we're trying to learn from the past, and actually one of the things or the key project that we have, and talking about 5 years time frame, it's really, connected object. And by connected object it's everything. Everybody talks about it. They're getting, platforms are being developed. Startups are creating, connecting, wearables for sport, for home. And so basically, it's what we want to achieve is actually covering the whole supply chain. And by this whole supply chain, it's not only in terms of the objects, but also the family. And we're talking about at home. We're talking about the pans connected with the recipes, and so making sure that the cook and the time that you are cooking is according to what the recipe is saying, and not putting a timer. And this is also, it's something that we are working on, and it's happening. It will happen quite fast, and we're talking with some corporates who are, market leaders in that field. I would not talk about wearables for the humans. We're talking about more for pets as well. So basically, it's bringing all the objects to the families, including the pets, of course. And at the same time, we are creating a data marketplace, so that not only the external companies or startups can connect and share the data with us, but also collecting the data. So this is one of the key projects that we have at Orange.
Wearables for pets.
Yes.
How do you measure the number of steps? You divide it by 2 because they have 4 legs, or you just do the counting?
Actually, there is a very good Israeli startup called Ogi, which basically it's a collar. I'm not promoting that company, but I really like the company. It's a collar that will actually check if your pet, the pet health. How do they do it? Whether they divide it by 2 or by 4, I have no clue. But they make sure that your pet is happy and healthy. So which will bring to, once we have the platform and we have connecting everybody, which bring to the second phase, which is the health. And as you probably know, so the telcos are getting into the world of health. And by health, even the big pharmas today are looking into digital health and less about the molecules and the drugs, but really connecting everybody and making sure that when a doctor gives a prescription to the patient, he's following that, etc. So we are trying to bring these two worlds into the telco world.
So 2 of the main themes that you see in the next 5 years are wearables.
There are connected objects for the house and for the family, and bringing the health space to the telco and using, the connection that we have with the telcos to cover the
Very
health.
good. Marc.
So thanks to everything.
No, I didn't ask the question.
Okay, I thought it was the same question for all of us.
You mentioned what you are doing. Are you doing also toilet paper?
Sorry, so I don't have to answer the question, right?
No, I will ask you.
No, we are not.
You don't do toilet paper. You are in so many consumer goods and you ignore this very important... No, because the question I prepared for you, but it's wrong one, is why you put your best thoughts on print, right? You print your best thoughts. And when you go to buy paper, you never check the print paper, but you always squeeze the toilet paper. Why?
So you prefer me to answer maybe his question?
Okay,
so
go
that,
to the...
So clearly one of the things, one of the reasons why I'm here is because clearly we have started at Unilever to do an important effort to connect our brands with the startup community. We launched about a few months ago, less than a year ago, a platform called the Unilever Foundry, which we created coming out of an initiative we had created a little bit a year and a half ago called Go Global, but which is really putting out on a digitally enabled platform briefs from our brands, our categories, to startup communities, to pilots for somewhere between $50,000 or $100,000 to actually experiment new ways in ad tech, in Internet of Things, in data, in artificial intelligence, etc. So all of this brings us to, where do we see the future? And one of the areas that we spend a lot of time powered by all of these new startups and technology that creates, and you mentioned it, new data, is how will we actually in the future use data to contextualize and personalize the way we build relationships with people. And not that much print, but even TV, we still very much, as a lot of big companies, we're still very much heavy in TV. Although we are more and more investing in all the channels of digital. But the reality, I really believe that in not 5 years, but in 3 years from now, nobody will have a non-personalized interaction with his TV, because you will have multiple other devices that will actually completely personalize and contextualize, including through all the data, including your pet, who will say, it's time for a pee because you don't like that break.
So you believe a major shift on the way advertising of consumer goods, or fast-moving consumer goods will happen?
Yeah, and I think as long as we do it in a way which really puts people first and really thinks about the way we actually help improve people's lives as opposed to pushing them things that they don't want, I think it will be a good thing.
You have to talk louder because I'm not sure.
I think it will be a good thing because it will enable us to really have an offering to people which will be much more contextual and much more relevant to their needs.
Eric, are you in the audience? Eric Salame.
Is there?
Can you get a microphone for half a minute? Eric, what do you think about the trend? I know that this is the topic of the next panel, but I want to steal the show from them. What do you think are going to be the changes in the way advertising of consumer goods is going to undergo? And can you introduce yourself? Can you tell the people what you are doing?
I'm Eric Salama, the CEO of Kantar, which is WPP's research and data investment management business. And Yossi didn't tell me that he was going to be doing this.
I told you not to say that I told you so.
Yeah. Well, there's you've got in Marc one of the people within the advertisers that is doing the most to change things, and you're seeing big changes in terms of where the money is spent. But I think much more. We haven't talked about programmatic at all, but a shift towards targeting and niches and much deeper engagement with much narrower audiences. And I think people will be looking at stitching up a whole host of much narrower audiences and really figuring out how to engage with them in a much deeper and more meaningful way.
Okay, thank you. Brent, in your world, what do you see in the next 5 years?
God, well, I mean, just quickly going back to the advertising one. So I'm on two boards, Guardian and Shazam. So both of them absolutely looking at giving customers a more personalized experience. I mean, I'm a great believer that as a consumer, I want something that there seems to be a small minority of people who are arguing against. But if it's managed well, I want to give all my data to You know, I don't see why that, for example, when I'm browsing on my phone or the web, it's a different, no one's personalizing all that information and knowing what news I'm interested in. So I think companies like Lumi, which is early, by the last FM guides, are trying to say, look, opt in to give me all your information on what you're seeing on the web, and then we'll personalize to give you a better experience. And the same would then go for commerce products. It's, you know, we've been talking about it ever since I was in the internet, since I launched my first internet company in '98, you know, that this thing's coming. So I think the question is, when is it really coming? Because there are lots of we can all see how it makes perfect sense from a marketeer's point of view and from a data science point of view, but there are other factors that are inhibiting it. Other things I'm excited about, I'm definitely excited about medtech. We're looking at that. I'm excited about changing education online is another one. I'm also on the board of a school, Eton College. We're looking a lot at how education's changing online. I also think governments are one of the next big beasts to change online. I mean, whether it's right from the ridiculousness of voting not electronically in this day and age, to how governments procure, to how much can be automated and efficient. The UK is at the forefront of this in terms of making more, taking away from call centers and things like that and turning more transactions online. And I think we'll see loads more governments across the world save a lot of money, have smaller governments, and et cetera, which will be what we need. Otherwise, finance. We're in London, obviously, lots of stuff about fintech. We're only at the beginning of these revolutions, which is why I talk about them, and JP can talk more about that one as well. And then artificial intelligence. You just had nanosemantics on. We're looking at a lot more companies doing exciting stuff with artificial intelligence. It's crazy the amount of money you can watch that's going into artificial. The value of a artificial intelligence scientist now is immense, as proven by DeepMinds, a great London startup. But what's really interesting is how much Google, for the UK, it's interesting that Google have then followed that acquisition with saying we're going to invest more in Oxford, Cambridge scientists. We're going to try and really wrap up lots of the leaders in data science. And then companies like Watson, the $100 million venture fund that's going into IBM's Watson, and then what they're going to do with find applications for data science, whether it's the one that I love the example they've got of this, of Watson reading, you know, hundreds of thousands of documents, health documents, digesting it, and then giving you, and much more than a human could ever do, and then working out what the right questions are to ask, not even what the answers are, but what the right questions to are based on all that research. So a ton of exciting area. And the one other one, it can't be a talk about the future without talking about drones, could it, Yossi, really?
About drones?
Drones, no, we have to talk about drones.
Drones?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about drones.
No, I mean, I think obviously...
Don't talk, use them.
Use them, I want to use them, yeah. I think the most interesting thing about drones, I think, as was pointed out by Jay Bregman from Halo the other day, who's going into drones, is the regulatory arbitrage. The issue is that, like in actually health tech and many other areas, what we're going to see more and more of is governments, entrepreneurship is a war zone for governments. How do you get it all to your country? Israel's done an amazing job, but what
did you say? What did you say? Can you repeat it?
Entrepreneurship is a war zone for countries.
None about Israel.
Israel's doing okay in entrepreneurship. what I hear from you, Yossi, from no one else, just from you. There's a couple of good startups in Israel, I think. But so, you know, there are certain factors in that alchemy that works. But I think for countries like the UK, what the government's saying is, let's create a regulatory platform. And drones is an example where we're seeing companies saying, look, we could create areas where where drones are licensed for it, where they're not in the US. So I think we might see more areas like that. And I think Bitcoin's another one that the government has done some talk about, saying, look, for Bitcoin, don't we want the global Bitcoin exchange to be in the UK?
Is it true that you paid $2 million for the domain drone.com?
20.
20, okay. I think they're sleeping.
Yeah, we're trying.
We are trying hard.
We're trying.
You know, some days it works, some days it doesn't work. Good. Mr. Russ,
JP.
JP, I visited you the first time I met you. You were a CTO of some three-letter bank.
Possible?
Yeah, usually I think 4 letters are more descriptive for banks, but what was...
It has been said.
But what was the name of the bank?
That was Dresdner Kleinwort was his team.
Yeah, and I remember like today, it was 15 years ago.
A little late, a little more.
Little more, and you told me, when I came to see you that you contracted with 250 startups to get...
The number seems to grow every time I meet you, but it started...
There were at least 7 of them.
Yeah, no, we were at that time engaged with over 100 startups.
Over startup, and I was shocked that a bank is willing to bet its future on startups, and you explained to me that you are trying to source the best minds that you can get, and many of them are not within the big companies.
That will always be the case.
It would always be the case, but at that time, now it's kind of a conventional wisdom. At that time, it was kind of a crazy thought.
I think everything may be crazy the first time you think about it, but if you really want to engage with talent, understand...
How you get talent? Just tell us how you get talent.
I've always believed that...
No, it was not good enough. Tell us how you get talent.
Sit somebody next to you who is going to whack you on the thigh very hard until you answer the question in an acceptable way.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, from the time I've engaged with any form of business, I've felt that the only strategy worth espousing is first hire good people. And it didn't take long to figure out...
And if you cannot hire them?
Well, it didn't take long to figure out that not all the good people will necessarily join your company. So if that meant that there was a proliferation of smart people who are not in your firm, then you had to figure out some protocol for engaging with those. Right? Hiring them is one. Being able to contract or ally with where they are is a second. Creating ways that they can engage with you through any form of ecosystem where they can participate is a third. And constantly being where they are, right? Even in a place like this or the kind of places I tend to meet you at, if you want to be part of that community, you're not going to do it in an ivory tower. Talent is not something that's going to migrate to the top of the tower while you sit in isolation. You have to put yourself about. So all the people I've seen who are successful at attracting and retaining talent actually go to where the talent is rather than expect the talent to come to them. And then they make the entire spectrum of capability from hiring through to partnership and engagement possible. And you don't do that randomly, you do that systematically. You think about how you're going to be able to hire at one extreme and engage very loosely, even anonymously, at another extreme with a series of more structured steps in between. So it happens because of foresight and structure, but it does happen.
Marc, you selected to open your remarks with telling us about this ecosystem that you are building in Unilever to engage with many startups. Can you tell us numbers with how many startups you are engaging and what are the results so far and what are your targets? And in general, how this very unlikely relations of huge companies with small, tiny companies are working?
Well, so far, really good. You can actually ask the question to one of them who is facilitating the next panel, Dave Matthews from Newair, who was one of the early startups that we actually partnered with as part of this platform. So we currently have released since the beginning, I guess, around 40 to 50 briefs. So that means we've engaged with 40 to 50 startups. Usually we release several briefs at a time around the theme, ad tech, Internet of Things, sustainability. Sometimes we also do some pop-up events or hackathons in some conferences. We did one recently at ad tech. And every time it's an opportunity, on one hand, to bring our marketers closer to this world of, of new creative entrepreneurial talent, and do it in a way which otherwise we would probably not do, because if we had to write a brief, fill in the whole procedures, and work with multiple internal, external stakeholders to get to potentially a brief to brief someone to do a prototype, by then we would have spent several months and several million euros. Whereas here for 50,000 euros, we actually can take a topic like, how do you make the coolers that are downstairs, which have magnums in there, intelligent, so that I could actually not only get a magnum right now, but I could share one with my friends. Well, that was the brief. That was the brief we gave to New Air, and that's the brief they took on. And that cost us $50,000, and in a few months we had a pilot. So for them it was great because they can work and prototype at the scale of Unilever with a big brand, a big company, and they're still paid for it. And for us it's great because we get to experiment, and also we get reverse mentoring in both sense. So we bring some marketing know-how to the startups, but we also, bring inside this more entrepreneurial curiosity, bringing the outside in, as we say, to Unilever.
Who is in the audience is from a startup? Raise your hand. Who is from big companies? Raise your hand. So I would say about 7 people are from startup, 3 from big companies, and the rest don't understand my accent. Let me try again. So what are the rest? Are lawyers? Okay, I understand. Let me explain to you the demography of this conference. 3 guys want to sell. No, 3 guys want to buy, 7 guys want to sell, and 200 want to mitigate between the 2 of them. That's the only conclusion. Who is interested to get the email of Marc in order to tell him what he can do? 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. Marc, are you willing to tell your email?
No, well, they can go to the Unilever Foundry. So,
how do they go to the Unilever Foundry?
Well, they can find it on the web. They can also find us on Twitter. And yeah, I'm very happy. I mean, my email is pretty straightforward. We know it at Unilever. Anybody, all the way up to the CEO, it's the first name dot the second name at unilever.com. So,
that's very easy. So anybody who want to get brief or to suggest to Marc, send him email, and I guess he will forward it to me because he doesn't want to deal with it or something like this.
I don't do email, so they're not sending it.
No, but please do go on the Foundry and do actually, and this is probably a message not for the 200 lawyers, but for the startups that are downstairs, presenting what they're doing. But it's really, anytime you see a brief that you think is relevant to the product that you do, it's a great way for us to connect. And we work with people like Founders Forum, et cetera, on actually curating some of those relationships. So I just came back last week from Manila, and we actually launched the Foundry in Manila. So we've started to make it a platform where we use it to engage with the local startup communities across the globe.
So the Foundry is a physical or it's a conceptual?
It's not conceptual, it exists, but it is digitally enabled, and sometimes we do pop-up events, but if you come to Unilever, there is not a big, a room saying the Unilever Foundry. It's something which exists on the web, as well as we curate it and facilitate it.
And are there any special geographical territories that you prefer, or?
Not really. It's because Unilever is global in scale, and because we launched it both here, but we've done several projects with the North American startups. Initially, before the Foundry, we had a precursor of the Foundry called Global, which was all about this idea of taking a startup and helping them to scale up to a new market. So really one of the benefits that we see is the opportunity to help startups who have a proven product already go to another level, to another scale.
Jackie, before we close, can you tell us how your company is sourcing innovation, creativity, experience, etc.?
Yes, actually we have a similar initiative than Unilever, so it's called Orange Fab, so it's an acceleration program. There is a booth downstairs for more information in case you want it, but basically it's a 3-month acceleration program where we bring startups according to topics of interest. the good thing that we do is bring a business unit who is interested in that particular company. So we don't overpromise that we're going to do a business with this company, but at least he's responding to a need, and out of that need, that company is the one that we have selected. So we have the FAB program is running in 8 countries. We just announced last week another one in the MENA region, in Amman, in Jordan. But currently we have one in the US, in France, of course, in Poland, Ivory Coast, Israel, Taiwan, Tokyo, Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. And in terms of numbers, since everybody's very interested in the numbers, so we currently have engaged with more than 70 companies. And the success rate, which is the KPIs that we have, is the transformation rate. Whether we do a pilot of commercial agreement with this company is above 50%, which is really, I think, quite a high number. And this is one part. And the second part to bring innovation to Orange is through our investment arm. As I said before, so we have a fund with Orange, between Orange and Publicis, but we have also other funds in other topics. So that one focuses more on mobile media. We have another one on smart cities, and we have another one on robotics. So this is the way we are opening ourselves to innovation from the startups.
Brent, you are in touch with, and this will be the last question, with how many founders went through your ecosystem?
That's a good question. I mean, we screen about 35,000 startups, but the team have meet with about 2,000 every year. And then we invite those that we think are going to change the world.
So the question which I want to ask you, for the whole history of technology, the small innovators usually chase the big companies, tried to pitch to them, to talk to them, etc. What we sense now, maybe, is it a change in the equation? Who is now chasing whom? Who is the more interested?
I think it's a really good question. I think what we find is a lot of startups that we talk to actually, they've had bad experiences with corporates, or they know people have had bad experience, and they find it, and they are very worried about their time. So they're very worried about spending 6 months trying to do a deal with a corporate, and then it falls apart, and they spend too much effort, time, whatever. So that's part of the role we're playing as, again, one of these middlemen, trying to say, look, we really think this will work. We know the corporate. We know how to work with them. We know that this is real, that this is the type of company that really could get a deal with them. But I think you're right. I think even in The Economist this week, there was an article about corporate venture funds and this sort of boom in corporate venture funds. I mean, long may it last. I think it makes perfect sense. The startups need credibility, and they need scale and this international reach, and the corporates need free R&D. So it's a perfect mix.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we can continue this panel was supposed to take 2.5 hours, but since we sense a lack of interest on the side of the audience, who is not laughing off the jokes in spite of all our efforts, etc., we announce the closure of this panel. We hope to see you next year in a better mood. Come again. Thank you.
Yossi. I could be wrong, but Brent, isn't it your birthday today? Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
dear Brent.
Birthday to Brent, in honor of your birthday,
Brent,
Unilever are giving 1,000 magnums in your honor.
Brent, I want to announce on behalf of Unilever and Orange that as a gift for your birthday, they will fund a trip around the world for all your family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yossi. Thank you, JP, Brent, Marc, and Jackie.